Okay, looks like we're recording. Okay, so welcome everyone to my sections of Math 219. I'm Clark Bray. I'm the instructor for sections 1, 2, and 3. Okay, so I have here some topics I need to discuss before we actually start the course. Mostly this is just information about policies and procedures and advice on how to do well in the course. But these are all important comments that I think really need to get said, in addition to being, documented on the website. Okay, so here we go. Okay, so first off, a quickie. If you're thinking about a math major, please come talk to me. No big deal, nothing to worry about, but I think it's a good idea to check in with an instructor periodically if you're a math major and make sure that you've taken the right courses, make sure this is the right course choice given your background, et cetera, et cetera. Okay, all right, so proceeding along, here is the class website. It's this link right here. Now, presumably you're listening to this recording as a result of my having emailed you about this recording, in which I probably included this link. So I expect you already have this, but just in case. Anyway, there it is. Okay. Importantly note that there's a link there to the shared course website, and these are both important. The course website has information that applies to all sections of the course overall, and my website up here has information that pertains specifically to my sections. Okay. All right, so your first assignment is to read through all of that information that's on both of the websites, my class website and also the course website. Make sure to read all of that, make sure to understand it, digest it, and take it seriously. And you also want to click around on all the links that are there. Obviously, you can't, read everything. I mean, I probably have links that connect me to just the open ocean of the internet. Obviously, you can't do all of that, but I just want to make sure you know what's linked and what's available. Okay. All right. So a few specific things I want to talk about in course operations. I'm going to start with the content syllabus. It shows what topics are covered in the course. It shows the homework exercises that will be assigned, and it also shows a few other things that we'll talk about specifically when we get to it. And let's see here. Here it is. By the way, here's the class website that I just pointed you to. Notice right here at the top, course website. Click on that. This is the course website. And one of the very first links right here, top left, content syllabus. So this is what we were just discussing, and as promised, notice this shows which sections of the book we're going to be covering, and also which exercises are assigned for each of those book sections. Okay, so once we're finished talking about section 1.1, then these are the exercises from the book that are assigned. Okay, nice and simple. Now, there's a couple little twists on this. Notice that in a few places on here, there are references to AHP. This, written up here near the top, AHP, you'll notice stands for Additional Homework Problems, and this is a PDF file. It's in the course materials section of the course website. So you'll go to that section and download, and then do those exercises from the AHP when we're done with section 1.6, and that's in addition, of course, to these book exercises. Okay. All right. Now you'll also notice here that there are two more columns, included material and excluded material. This is a recognition that, what is in the book is not exactly perfectly what this course is. So in some places, the book goes deeper into things than we really need. and covers topics that are either too advanced for what we're doing or are not worth the time given how busy we are and how much other stuff we have to do, et cetera, et cetera. So certain things that you're just not responsible for. So that's all going to be noted in this excluded material column. So for example, in section 1.4 on the cross product, the book has a subsection called Addendum Proofs of Cross Product Properties. You're not responsible for that stuff. Now, you're welcome to look at it. You might find good ideas in there. Those ideas might help you understand what you are responsible for. Sure, maybe. And you are welcome to look at all that stuff, but you're not responsible for that stuff. Okay, so notice there's quite a bit of stuff in this rightmost column, excluded material, and that's good news for y'all. That's all the less that you're responsible for. Now, also, you see right here, included material. There are some topics that the book leaves out. Now, this is author prerogative, and the author of this book was not writing it with our course in mind exactly. So this is perfectly reasonable. Nevertheless, for our course, I think, for example, the second derivative chain rule is very important. This is something that really does need to be covered, and so that's why I put it here in this column. Being in the included material column means that it is part of the course. It is fair game for the course, even though it will not be found in the book. So you'll notice it's indicated here that this will be covered in the lectures, and you'll find it in the lecture notes, and we will talk about it at the appropriate time when we get to that part of the course in the lectures. Okay, likewise, a few other things, not as many, but these things you want to make a careful note to make sure that you pay attention, be on the lookout for these included material topics. Okay. Oh, while we're here, please do always make a point of looking at all the header material on documents like this, and there's some similar header material in the class schedule that we'll get to in a couple minutes. That's all really important. And in particular, notice this first sentence starts with students are responsible for, right? So that's an important thing to make sure that you understand exactly what you're responsible for. So make sure to study that sentence very, very carefully. And then likewise, all of the content in the prerequisite trail. So prerequisite to this course is linear algebra. Prerequisite to that is single variable calculus. Prerequisite to that is, well, high school algebra, geometry, trigonometry. So do be sure that you are proficient, strongly proficient with all of that prerequisite material. Can't emphasize this enough. We are going to assume that you are strong with all of that stuff. Now, I've isolated some very specific topics that I think are especially important. This is not to diminish the importance of all of the material in the prerequisite trail, but these are just of particular importance. So I'm going to point to the one that is most commonly a little weak in students in this course, and that is linear transformations, relationships to matrices, and standard geometric examples like rotations and reflections. So you want to make sure that you think back to your linear algebra experience and make sure that you remember, for example, how to write down a matrix that executes a rotation around a given axis in 2 or 3 dimensions. And we will talk about that a little bit in class. I am going to be quick about it in class because it is prerequisite material. That is, Math 218 or Math 221 should have covered those topics. But if you are a little shaky on this stuff, and if what we do in class doesn't solidify your understanding of that stuff, come to my office hours. We'll talk about it. I'll be very happy to help. We want to make sure that everyone is strong on that material. Okay. Right, so that's the content syllabus. Okay, back now to my notes. And let's see here. Let's talk about the class schedule. Now that's going to be on my class website up here. So let's go back to the class website. Here we are. And you see right here near the top, class schedule. So this is the current state of the class schedule. Again, you will notice some header material right here. Make sure to read all of that carefully. This describes how this class schedule is organized and how to interpret various aspects of it. And I think this is a pretty straight read, though, but there's a couple things you want to be careful about. So you will notice that in the first week, among our 3 lectures, on the first class meeting date, which is this coming Monday, time flies, can't believe it's here already, on this coming Monday, my target, now that's aspirational, I hope to meet this target. We'll see if that actually happens. It may or may not. My target is to finish Chapter 1, page 9 of my lecture notes. Now again, these are all references in my lecture notes, not in the book itself. Okay, so my goal, we'll see if it happens, is to get through the first 9 pages of the lecture notes. Now what will actually happen, whoa gosh, that's a more complicated story. What will actually happen, well, frankly, probably a little bit less than that. I am usually a little behind schedule. I front load the schedule fairly significantly because I find that this is a really good way to keep a fire lit under myself and make sure that I don't squander too much time at the beginning and thus find myself, out of time at the end for the most challenging material. So anyway, it is not rare, to say it lightly, that I'll be behind my target. That is okay. We'll be fine. So anyway, what we actually finish on any given day, I will document on these in these cells right here. That, of course, will be done as we go through the course. Okay, so there you go. You'll notice as well, I've made note of official holidays like Labor Day, fall break, Thanksgiving break, etc. You'll notice I've also documented on here the dates of the exams. So exam 1, Friday, September 27th. Exam 2, exam 3, different colors, of course. Okay. All right, so now let's talk about the homework. What does this schedule tell us about the homework? Well, the very first homework assignment, right there, homework number 1, will include whatever exercises are assigned for the sections of the book that are listed in these 2 cells right here. Now notice homework 1, right? I've used the box boundaries, the sort of the edges, the darkened edges there to note which of our class meetings, which sections have been covered will be included with that homework number 1. And notice for homework number 1, it's just Monday and Wednesday. Notice Friday is not included. Right? This is not by week exactly. Right? You got to be careful about that. Notice that Friday, if you follow it across there, right? Friday's class meeting, that's part of homework 2, right? So anyway, as of the end of class on, if I can get that, there we go, on Wednesday, August 28th, that will fill in this cell right here. That will finish the definition of what is assigned for homework 1, and then notice that homework 1, we have the due date right here, is due on Sunday, which is, let's see here, that looks like it is 4 days after the last day of material that we cover. Okay, so that's how to interpret the class schedule. Do notice up here all homework assignments are due at 11 p.m. Eastern. That's not midnight. It's 11 p.m. Eastern. And so make sure to get your homework submitted by that time. All homework submissions will be on Gradescope. Noted here. Whoa, here we go. Noted here. I'm hoping that y'all have previous familiarity with Gradescope. But by the way, hey, if you're not, If you have not previously worked with Gradescope, that's something you want to make sure to do. You can go to the Gradescope page, Duke's portal, I guess it is, to Gradescope, and they have some excellent help videos there, little tutorials and help pages, and make sure you understand how that works. It's a fantastic system, and use it for everything in this course. For all the homeworks will be submitted and returned through Gradescope, and all of the exams, now they'll be done on paper in class, but those exams I will scan and grade and comment, etc., score, and then return to you through Gradescope. So everything eventually, all graded items eventually make their way into Gradescope. Okay. All right. Now, just a couple of further things while we're here. Notice here on the far right, I have some comments and reminders. These are things you definitely want to keep an eye on. So as we go through the course, let's see here. Let's pick a date over here, not too close to the beginning arbitrarily, but on Friday, September 13th, there is a reminder that you should be aware of on that date. Oh, Friday the 13th. How about that? The reminder that you should be aware of is, and again, following it over, is right here. And notice there's an exam in just 2 weeks. Right? And you can see, 1 week, 2 weeks, exam. So this is a reminder that ideally, you should be studying for that exam continuously through the term. But I understand that some students don't do that for whatever reason. But anyway, if for whatever reason you are not studying continually for the exam through the term, then this is get nervous, time to catch up, right? It's only 2 weeks, and we will have by this date covered a tremendous amount of material, huge amount of material. And if you don't start trying to catch up now, by which I mean catching up with getting your proficiency to the level that you're ready to take an exam, then you might not have enough time to do all that studying to get yourself to that level before the exam. Okay. All right, so these little reminders, various kinds of reminders and comments, etc., are over here on the far right. And so, of course, I hope you will keep a very regular look at what's on this schedule. You'll have to, among other things, to see what's assigned for a given homework assignment. But while you're there, keep a lookout for these comments. Make sure that you see the comments for the dates that you've passed, of course, and the current dates, but then also look ahead a little bit, and you'll get a preview of what you're going to soon be reminded of in these comments. Okay. Okay, real quick, one of the couple of little quickie things I wanted to point out. Notice most of these homework due dates are Sundays. That is by student request, which I think is reasonable. But in a couple instances, homeworks are due on Fridays. Now, to emphasize that, you'll notice that I have those Friday due dates highlighted in red. I want to make sure everybody sees that. Don't forget about that. You'll notice further that this homework set number 5, the last day for homework set number 5 is not a Wednesday. It's a Monday. Now, why is that? Well, the reason why is we have an exam here on that Friday, and I want students to have done the homework for material fair game for the exam by the time of the exam. Now that, of course, just stands to reason, right? It doesn't make any sense to prepare for the exam by doing homework exercises after you've taken the exam. That's just silly, right? So anyway, the schedule for homeworks will have these little hiccups here and there related to exams and occasionally related to holidays. Thanksgiving makes a weird thing happen down here at the end. But most of the homeworks are due on Sundays. Let me say that differently. Most of the homework sets go through a Wednesday class meeting material and are then subsequently due on a Sunday, but not all of them. there are these handful of exceptions. Looks like 3 exceptions. Okay. All right. So that's the class schedule. Let's see. Back to my organizational notes. Let's see here. Let's talk about class grades. So it's a pretty simple formula ultimately. Nothing concerning grades is truly simple because there are so many different systems used by so many different courses that are different from each other. And so the ever-present complexity when you're thinking about class grades is you have to constantly remind yourself what it is about other courses that simply doesn't apply to the course in question, right? So I want to make sure we understand exactly what the formula is, what the process is for class grades in this course. The short version is that we're going to be using weighted averages on the 4-point scale. So I'm not going to be averaging raw 100-point scale exam scores. Every exam is going to be curved individually with a tailored curve just for that exam. Curved meaning that we will convert the raw score on the 100-point scale into something on the 4-point scale. And by 4-point scale, I mean that 4.0 is an A, 3.0 is a B, 2.0 is a C, etc. So as exams are completed with the grading, I will distribute these curves. I'll show you where in just a moment. And those curves will allow you to convert your raw score. If you get an 87 out of 100, for example, the curve will convert that into the 4-point scale, and it might end up being, 3.76 or something like that. Okay. All right. Okay, let's see here. Now there's also homework. There's a fixed curve for the homework. Attendance is also part of the grade. There's a fixed formula for the attendance. And now with all that commented, let's go to the relevant page. First, I'm going to go over to the course website and note on the course grades link that there is a discussion about how course grades apply to all sections of the course. So all of the sections of the course are going to be using the 4-point scale, using weighted averages of items on the 4-point scale. All sections of the course will give a grand total for all their midterms, however many midterms they do. Those midterms will have a total weight of 60%. The final exam for all sections will be worth 30%. And various other items, homework, attendance, quizzes, what have you, that's instructor prerogative. Those other items will add up to 10%. And with those weights, averaging your 4-point curved grades on all the individual items, you will get a weighted average for the course. That weighted average will fall into one of these bins. For example, let's suppose that your weighted average ends up being let's just say 3.57, whatever, 3.57. Well, that falls into that bin, and that means you would get an A- for the course. And roughly speaking, the point there is that A- is a 3.7, and all the numbers in this bin have the feature that 3.7 is the closest standard value letter grade. So 3.57 is closer to 3.7 than it is to 3.3, and that's why you get an A-, not a B+. Okay, notice that 3.49 falls in this bin. 3.49 is closer to 3.3 than to 3.7, and so that's a B+. Okay. All right. So, by the way, there are this argument about what standard letter grade value your average is closest to. That doesn't work perfectly because when you average numbers, there's some statistics phenomenon that that get involved and things get a little bit different. So you'll notice that at the top end and near the bottom end, things get a little bit different. This is to account for standard statistical phenomena when you average numbers. And these bins have been tested against very large data sets, and they work very effectively to give reasonable and precedented grades for the class overall. Okay. All right. So a few other comments here. You can read through these. I encourage you to read all that stuff. We don't have time to go through all of it. But now let's go back to the class website and click on class grades, and let's talk about specific to our sections. Now remember, 60% was the midterm total, and you see here that the way I'm going to break up that 60% is over 3 midterms, 20% each. Nice and simple. Okay. All right. The 10% that I have to play with my instructor authority is going to break down like this. Homework is going to count for 7%. Attendance will count for 3%. Now, there's a lot of details as to how homework and attendance will go down. That's discussed here. There's a detailed discussion of exactly how I'll compute homework averages. I want to emphasize discard any previous impressions or assumptions you have about, 90 to 100 is an A, 80 to 90 is a B. That's a bunch of nonsense that got made up by some high school teachers, and we don't use that at all. Right? So do make sure to read this carefully. Right? So for example, notice here that based on setting 100% as being 4.0 and 65% as being the sort of the highest zero, the highest F, 82.5 falling as it does halfway in between those counts as a 2.0, and that's a C. And again, a lot of high school systems would call that a B or a B minus or something like that. And again, absolutely not going to be using any of these ancient, high school systems that are completely arbitrary. They have no relevance in this course. Okay, so think it through very carefully. Likewise with attendance. So here's a detailed discussion about attendance. And the big surprise here, I think, is how each class meeting, attendance in each individual class meeting makes a very significant difference. And so let's see here, keeping in mind that attendance counts 3% of your course grade. If you make certain assumptions about how many class meeting days there are, blah, blah, blah. Let's see here. Each unexcused absence approximately will bring down your overall course average by about this much. And that's significant, right? That's a non-trivial amount. 0.012 doesn't take a lot of those to really make a difference in your course grade. So do keep that in mind, and you want to make sure not to throw away points, right? By just not coming to class. Right. Again, class attendance is required, so just go ahead and come to class. And I do like to point out that that's arguably kind of a negative take on it, and the glass half full point of view is, look, if you just come to all the class meetings, and you get a free 4.0 as 3% of your course grade. That's just free, right? That's just for showing up, right? So again, I think that's a better way to think about this, and don't leave free points on the table, as it were. Make sure to go ahead and get those free points. All you got to do is come to class. Okay, all right. So that's how class grades are going to work. Now let's talk about the curves on this same page. Scrolling down just a little bit, you see there's a section, or there's a link here called exam curves. And if you go to that, this is what the exam curves page will look like. You'll see that there are columns for exams 1, 2, and 3. And there are no numbers in here yet because I haven't written those exams yet, and more to the point, those exams haven't been graded yet. But again, this is where you will find how to convert your raw score. And again, let's suppose hypothetically you get an 87 on the first exam, whatever that might end up being. Then the number that will be here will be your curved grade on the 4-point scale. And again, these grades here on the 4-point scale, those are the numbers that matter. Those are the numbers that will be that will go into the weighted average that will determine your grade for the course. Okay, as it says right here. Okay. All right. Oh, and I real quick, I will point out that if you do get like a half point somehow, if you have a 87.5, that will round up. So 87.5 will round up to 88. Okay. All right. Okay, so now if you have any questions about how grades are going to be computed in this course, any of this stuff, let me say that differently. Make sure to read all of this. Make sure to give yourself time to kind of think about it. And if after reading all this discussion and chewing on it and thinking about it, if you still have questions, I guess I didn't. Anyway, feel free, please, to come talk to me about this. It's no problem. I'm very happy to discuss any of this and to explain and clarify how grades are going to be computed. I think it's really important that everybody understand how grades are going to be computed. And all you got to do is come and talk to me. I'm an open book on this topic and happy to help. Okay. All right. Let's see here. Now back to my notes. Okay, so we've discussed class grades. Let's talk about the YouTube recordings. So I have been for many years, and I like to point out, since long before COVID, since long before everybody else jumped on board with video recording of lectures during COVID, I had been video recording my classes for years at that point. Anyway, it doesn't matter to you, but I think that's a fun point. Anyway, these are fantastic learning tools, and I encourage everybody to make heavy use of the recordings that I'll be making of all of our lectures. Technology permitting, every so often there's a computer glitch or something. I think these are fantastic learning tools, and I hope you will make heavy use of them. And let's see here. Let me show you how that works. Again, going back to my class website, and you see down here, YouTube recordings. You can just click right there. This will take you to my YouTube channel that I have simply so that I can share class recordings with my students. And you'll notice that each playlist here corresponds to a course offering. So, for example, right here is the Math 219 from this recent spring. This is the playlist for that semester. I don't have one yet for our current semester because I haven't uploaded any lectures yet, because, in fact, what I'm recording right now will be the first recording on that playlist. You can see right here, Course Organization and Advice. This was the analogous recording that I made back in January, the start of the recent spring semester. And then as you see here from the spring, I will likewise be adding in recordings as we go through this fall semester. So all you got to do is click on any of these and the recording starts to play. The quality is excellent. And it's a great way to, if you find yourself a little confused about something during the lecture, then you can just, make a note to watch the recording later. And then you can listen to it again and then pause it and then rewind and listen to it again. As many times as you need to, whatever might be helpful. And I think it's a really good idea to do sort of a back and forth strategy, namely listen to the recording, pause it, go over to the lecture notes, read the lecture notes, take out a pencil and paper and do some scratching around and try a little mathematical experiment. See if you can make it work. Try to identify what you're confused about. Look it up in the book, maybe. And then when you think you've gotten a little bit more understanding of what you had been missing, go back to the recording. Listen to the recording again. Again, just the critical part, just the part that you were having trouble with. And what you will find out is that the more you do this sort of back and forth, studying outside of the recording and then going back and listening to segments of the recording again, it'll make more sense every time. And this is a fantastic way to get as much as possible out of the recordings. The alternative, of course, is to get what you get on the first pass through listening to the lecture, namely whatever you happen to have understood during class, and that's it. And then you don't get anything else out of the lecture, and that's a real tragedy. Lectures go really fast. It's not really expected that you would understand it all the first time through. So going back and picking up on the ideas that you just weren't able to choke down the very first time through the lecture, going back and listening to them again, doing the back and forth thing, and really digesting then eventually everything from the lecture will make a tremendous difference in your understanding of the material for the course. Okay, so I strongly encourage everybody to do that. Make use of these recordings. They're here for you. Okay. All right. Let's see here. Okay. So I wanted to talk about these annotations for points to be reviewed later. Now, to do this, I'm going to pull up my lecture notes, and let's see here. I should have had that pulled up earlier, but no problem. I can pull it up now. Bear with me a moment. I will open up my lecture notes for here's my my chapter 1 lecture notes, and this is what it's going to look like up on the screen during classes. And there's some mathematical content there, of course, you can see, and I'm going to be annotating the content, annotating the notes to draw focus to what I'm talking about at any particular moment as we go through the notes. So, for example, it's really important to make sure that you're good to go with your linear algebra before we get into this course. I will assume that you are strong with your linear algebra. Now, the good news is I'm not going to make any use at all in this course of Jordan canonical form. Some of the more far out kind of things from linear algebra. So I don't need you to be good with the really advanced topics, but you want to make sure that you're super good with linear transformations, matrices, determinants, row reductions, pivots, rank, things like that. All that stuff is in here and there, some more than other, but that's all really important in this course. Okay, so and then I can go on and talk about other things like so. For example, let's look at this vector A, and then I can highlight A with the same color, and then here we have this vector B. I can highlight B with the same color. Very convenient. And then we can talk about the sum, A plus B, like so. I really like how this visually leaps off the page using colors like this. It really helps to me. Everybody's different, I suppose, but I find this is very helpful as I look at an equation or inequality, as I look at algebra. As I look at algebra and try to understand geometrically what is that meaning. So I really support and like this strategy of making use of color in this way. Anyway, be on the lookout for it. So that's the kind of thing that I'll be doing as we go through the course. And now here's another observation that I'll make. This is what I sort of came here for. Here is an example of a certain specific linear transformation, and this is a confusing example, but it turns out that this function here which I like to highlight on this picture like so. This that you can do to a given individual single vector x is linear. Now, it's confusing to think about that. Now, I'm going to give you all a talk about this during class. I'm not going to do that now, but I'm going to talk about this in class. And if you find that you're having trouble with the discussion that I will be giving you in class, here's what I advise. Look down here into the bottom right-hand corner of the screen. Very bottom right-hand corner, you see it says 352. That will be visible on the recording. So you can just come over here and just write 352 on your physical copy or electronic copy if you're using a tablet or something. Just write 352 on your copy of the notes. You can even put the date on there if you want. Suit yourself. But just write that down, and now you've got a permanent note for any time that you want to come back to the recording and remind yourself of what was it that Bray said about this stuff here. How do what does Bray say about that? Well, here you go, right there. That tells you exactly where to go in the recording to find my discussion of this exact topic. It makes for extremely efficient moving back and forth between your notes and the recordings. So I want to strongly urge everybody to do these kinds of annotations as we go through the notes for any given class meeting. And again, big payoff later on. Okay. All right. Moving along. Okay, so the next thing we're going to talk about, less logistics and more sort of philosophy. I want to talk about this right here. This is the big point about the class. This is the big point of what we're going to talk about today in this recording. Philosophically, what is our goal in this? What's the purpose of this course? What are we focused on? And the answer to what this course is about. This course is about ideas and reasoning. I cannot emphasize this enough. Ideas and reasoning. This is not a course about memorizing data, formulas, things like that. I mean, you will have to memorize some formulas. You will have to know some definitions. There are certain things you're going to have to memorize. Well, of course there is. But that's not what the course is about. That's incidental. That's in support of the true purpose of this course is to make sure that you understand ideas and reasoning. So really, really important. And this importance manifests itself in different ways. So for one thing, just by contrast, I got a little ahead of myself here, by what this course is not about. This course is not about answers, right? So if you work an exercise or an exam question or whatever, send something that you submit in some form or another, the mere having of the correct result at the bottom of the page is really not the point. That's not what this course is about, right? What this course is about is the ideas and the reasoning. So show your work, right? Make sure that your work shows your understanding of ideas relevant to that solution. Make sure that your work shows the reasoning. Make sure that I can infer from what you've written what was your reasoning that got you down to that answer. The answer itself is just straight up not the point, not what we're interested in. I mean, yeah, you do have to have the answer as well, but it's not the point. Okay. Likewise, it's not about numerical answers in a box at the bottom of the page, and it's not about just stated conclusions. This is not a course where you can just make assertions. This is a course where you have to explain. So anyway, really important. You're going to notice this very quickly in the lectures, right? This course being about ideas and reasoning It'll be hard to miss in my lectures. That's pretty much all I'll do is talk about ideas and reasoning. You're also going to notice this on the exams, and it's very important that you anticipate this, that you be prepared for this, because on the exams, right, when you're working on the exams, you'd better make sure that what you submit demonstrates your understanding of ideas and your valid and complete reasoning that got you to the answer to the question. Again, cannot emphasize that enough. And I want to emphasize it, a little bit more. That's where points come from. Points are awarded on the basis of the validity of your reasoning, the completeness of your reasoning, the clarity of your thought, and the clarity of your written communication. And I'm going to say a couple of words about these last two things here. Clarity of thought. What do I mean by clarity of thought? Why does that matter? Keeping in mind, we're not interested in the answer. The answer is not the point, right? Clarity of thought means, among other things, that, if you, in fact, have good understanding of the ideas, proficiency with reasoning with those ideas, then you will have a solution that goes right to the point. You won't have a bunch of unnecessary calculations. You won't go in some tedious, circuitous path to get to an answer, even if your tedious, circuitous path of reasoning does eventually get you to the right answer. Again, the answer is not the point, right? The point is that you had a tedious and circuitous path. And so the ideas, your understanding of the ideas and your proficiency with reasoning effectively with those ideas is not as good as if you had been able to reason, directly and efficiently and get right to the point. Okay, so this is a really important thing as well. Make sure that you keep that in mind, right? So as you're solving problems and as you're practicing for exams, and certainly as you're writing your work on exams, make sure that you focus on being as clear thinking, as effective a use of the material as you possibly can. Okay. All right. Okay, so let's talk about the learning strategy for the course. This is another really important point. It is we're in a tough bind in this course. There is a tremendous amount of material to be covered in this course. It's just a huge amount of material. A strong case can be made that this might ought to be 2 semesters. Maybe 2 semesters is more than would really be necessary, but wow, it sure would be nice to have 1.5. And for practical reasons, teaching this course over 2 entire semesters is just not realistic. So it is what it is. The punchline is we have a tremendous amount of material to cover in this class. So as I have underlined at the very beginning here, there is just not enough class meeting time to learn all the material in class. It's just not enough. It just won't work. So I cannot use what I'm going to call the standard high school strategy for teaching. And I've never taught high school, to be fair, but the way high school worked when I was in high school, let's not discuss how long ago that was. The way it worked was you go to class, and the teacher teaches ideas. You learn the ideas. You do all your learning in class, and then you go home. And yeah, there's some homework to do, but the homework was usually just kind of about honing technique. It was about practicing and rehearsing. It wasn't really about learning so much. Not, of course, that's important as well. Honing skills and practicing and memorizing, etc. These all things have to be done. But it's not really learning. So again, the way most high school classes work, I believe, and certainly my high school class, that the learning happened in class. So it's very important to understand that is just not how this is going to work at all. You're going to learn some things in class, but you're going to learn a great amount outside of class. So be prepared for that, right? And if you take the old high school, and again, my high school might not be, you might have had a much better experience. I don't know. But if you take the strategy of you'll do your learning in class, and then outside of class you just do you just execute on the homework and call it a day, you're not going to absorb the material for a combination of reasons. First of all, there's too much. And second of all, it didn't all get said in class either, right? So tragically, I do have to make some tough choices when I'm trying to decide what to spend class time on. I will make difficult choices about what is the most important material to cover in class. To some extent, I will be considering how important are those ideas. I will also be considering how difficult are those ideas, right? Things that are easy, you can learn outside class on your own. And then I'll also be considering how well suited are those ideas for being communicated in person versus in writing. And so in other words, there are some topics that are equally challenging, whether someone's telling it to you in person or whether you're just reading it out of a book. And if it doesn't make much difference either way, which way you learn it, then I'm not going to spend valuable class time on hand-holding the class through those topics that you could just read, right? Whereas other topics really require an explanation. And certain topics, that if you try to learn them just reading them out of a book, it's very difficult. But a good explanation in class makes it much easier. So things like that. That's again another consideration. So I can't say I will be covering exactly this, always this, never that. But these are the three big considerations of how I make decisions on what to spend class time on. What's the most important? What's the most difficult? And what can make the most effective use of being in person? So everything else in the course you are still responsible for. And that's where the outside the class stuff kicks in. So you want to make sure that you spend plenty of time filling in all of the blanks. Now, I have a detailed discussion about this on the website. And let's see, where did I put it? Oh, yeah, it's on the course website. And course design and strategy. Right, so here we are. There's a bunch of this stuff discussed, and tremendous amount of material to learn, as I've been discussing. Again, I emphasize the way this class is designed is I want to optimize the learning experience, but specifically I want to optimize the learning experience for students that are approaching the course the right way. If you approach the course the wrong way, then the course isn't designed in the way that would make the most sense for a student like that. So something to be very careful about. So make sure that you are making full use of all the available resources. Make sure, for example, that you preview the material before class. You want to come to class already understanding already understanding the foundations of whatever we're going to be doing in class that day. And you want to make sure that you have a reasonably good idea. You're obviously not going to understand everything perfectly before class. I wouldn't have a job. But you want to have a rough idea of approximately what's going to happen in class. And all you have to do is just preview the material, right? Just read the lecture notes and think, with this target in mind as you're previewing the material, probably in my lecture notes, maybe in the book, and just be thinking about what's the point of this? Where are we going? What's the punchline? What are the main tools that we're using to make this work. And, make sure you have a good idea about all that. And then when you come to class, and obviously you pay attention, right, then you'll be set up to understand what I'm talking about, right? And again, if you don't preview the material, my lecture assumes that you have, then you're going to have a massive disadvantage in understanding the lectures. So really important to keep that in mind. Okay. All right. Now I feel it necessary to also point out that I'm going to expect that again, we will not cover everything. And I also, for whatever it's worth, the class moves really fast. I know that this is hard material and it takes a long time to digest, and I know that as I talk in class, you're not going to have 100% proficiency with every single thing that I say instantly right there in class, right? So you want to make sure to review it after class is over. This is not just doing the homework, right? Make sure to review the lecture notes, whatever aspects of the material you had trouble with. Read up on that. Go back and watch those excerpts from the recordings again, etc. And do all that extra stuff that we were discussing till you really feel like that you're strong with the material. Okay. All right. So again, each of these steps I think is critical. And if you don't do them, then then you're gonna pay the price. And I don't want that to happen to anyone. So please do make sure to take the right approach to the course. Okay. And let's see here. There's a bunch of other discussion down here I've already talked about mostly. So anyway, make sure to read all that stuff. Okay. All right. We're making good progress here. Let's see here. Back to here. I'll highlight again important discussions on the course website in this section, and specifically that link is the one that we were just looking at. So make sure to read all of that super thoroughly. Okay. All righty. A couple other things. I like this advice right here. Maintain a list of questions. I did this myself. Not when I was an undergrad. I wasn't. I was not very well organized when I was an undergrad. But when I was a grad student, I had my act together a little bit better. And this is one of my big strategies. I maintained a list of questions. So this was back in the old days, and I didn't have any online tools. There was no online. So I just had a piece of paper that I carried in my notebook, and as I was taking classes or reading papers, working with my advisor, what have you, if there was something came up that I didn't understand, I wrote it down on my list. And then when I had an opportunity to ask questions, either my instructor or an advisor or colleagues, friends, classmates, I had a list right there that reminded me exactly what I needed to ask. And I could go right to the point of exactly what I needed to know. And then once you get your satisfaction on one of those topics, just cross it out. And then new things come up that you don't understand, add it to the list. And when you understand it, cross it out. Right? This is just a running list. Now, this being the day and age of smartphones and various awesome organizational tools, I hope and assume that y'all will not be using a mere piece of paper like I did. That would be a huge missed opportunity, right? So come up with a good idea, whatever works best for your organizational system, and have a better way than I did of maintaining this list of questions. Okay, quick reference to the course resources. Now, while we're here, course resources, you go to the course web page, and you'll notice right here, sort of bottom right, course resources, and there's a long list. I put yourself as number one. That's just for Just for effect, I suppose. You are your own primary resource. You're the one that's responsible for making sure that you learn. You're the one that has to take the initiative if you need help. I'm happy to help. Come to my office hours. Please do. But I can't make you come to my office hours, right? So you've got to take the initiative. And you've got to be honest with yourself. I think this is a really good point. Be honest with yourself about how you are, or possibly be honest, you might not be at some point learning certain parts of the material, right? So it's important. You can't make yourself seek help on a topic that you won't admit to yourself you don't understand as well as you should. So again, that's one of the big responsibilities in a course like this, is to be responsible for that kind of thing. Okay. All right. So anyway, various other things. We have a very nice textbook. I like this textbook quite well. I hope you'll read it every day as we're going through the material. I biased, of course, but I think my notes are good. I hope you'll like them. My notes are more tailored to the course specifically, which is an advantage over the textbook. But, of course, they're not as thorough as the textbook. So, pro-con. Okay. Come to office hours. We want to help. We can't help if you won't come to us, right? One way you can get help from me, of course, is by rewatching the recorded lectures. I emphasize you're welcome not only at my office hours, you're also welcome at the other instructors' office hours. So we have an office hours sharing arrangement. And so if my office hours don't work for you, then you can go to the other instructors' office hours, and vice versa. Okay. All right. The help room is a really good thing to know about. The help room is operating this term, and you can click on this link to see exactly which days, which hours, exactly who will be there, and that's a good thing to keep an eye on. I am a big believer in study groups. I think this is a huge point. If you have some friends, let's be more specific. If there are some people that you can and would like to study with in this class, I think that's a great idea. I learned a tremendous amount of material when I was an undergrad from classmates. In fact, in certain classes, not all, but there were classes that I took as an undergrad where I think it's fair to say I learned more from my classmates than I did from my instructor. I don't know if that'll be the case in this class, but anyway, it's just as a reference point. There's a tremendous potential to learn from study groups. All right, and there's some more discussion about how to do that. This is my brief summary. Create dialogue. Get a conversation going. Get an argument going about some aspect of the material. And whether you're participating in the argument or whether you just instigate and then watch from the side, great ideas can be batted around, misunderstandings can be identified, tremendous potential. So I hope you'll do that. While we're here, I will point to my past exams. Now, these are just past exams. They are commonly misrepresented as being practice exams. You may use them as practice exams, of course, but I emphasize I did not write them for the purpose of being practice exams. They were literally exams in past semesters, and any utility they may have as practice is incidental. So don't assume that because certain ideas were or were not on my past exams that means that those ideas definitely will or definitely won't be on this semester's exams. There are no such fair inferences. Okay, so you'll notice several lists. There's my past Math 219 exams. There's also some old Math 212 exams. Math 212 is a different course, naturally, but it's a very, very similar course. It covers almost exactly the same material as Math 219. The only difference is that it did not assume linear algebra as a prerequisite. Pretty much everything else about the material is exactly the same. Well, it had a different textbook, but that's not really about the material. And then for whatever it's worth, I have a whole different folder over here for when I taught Math 212 in summers. In the summers, I used my own textbook instead of the standard textbook because I was the only one teaching the course, and that gave me the flexibility. Anyway, different. And I'll make the point that, when I was teaching out of my own textbook, in my own textbook, I had a little section on linear algebra. And I actually did use that linear algebra in teaching Math 212. And so a case could be made that these old midterm exams for my summers are arguably more analogous to our current Math 219 course that we're in now. Than my old semester Math 212 midterm exams were. Okay. All right. Make sure to check the Academic Resource Center's website for what they might be offering, and you can check back after a certain amount of time to see if they might change their offerings for our course. As we go through the semester, I will point to the Study Connect program. This is a fantastic resource from the Academic Resource Center. It will help you to pair up, group up with other students who are looking for study partners. Okay. All right. So let's see here. It's going back to the list. And yeah, we talked about all that stuff. Study group, I kind of talked about that. I'm a big fan. I think it's a great way to learn material. Try to create dialogue. Again, I think that's the hot setup. That's the way to really get good stuff out of a study group. And then a couple of little, I guess a single last note here. Use the homework as an opportunity to practice how you're going to write your exam work. Now, you can kind of slop it down quick and dirty, and that'll get it done, and you might even get credit, might even get full credit on the homeworks right that way. But it's a missed opportunity. On the exams, you're going to have to show your work. You're going to have to explain your reasoning, right? And these are not easy, right? Being able to explain a thought process, being able to explain mathematical reasoning with words, just written words, right? Plus equations, plus diagrams, right? But being able to explain mathematical ideas in writing is tricky. It's hard. It takes practice. Right? And the homework is a fantastic opportunity to do that practice. So a great opportunity. Please take that point of view. Please think of the homework as an opportunity to practice how you will do exams. And there's, again, big payoff when you actually get to the exams. Do keep in mind the homework does count. It is 7% of your course grade. Right? But the exams between the 3 midterms and the final are 90% of your course grade, right? So phoning in the homework, don't think of it as, I'm only going to take a hit on 7% of my course grade. No. If you phone in the homework, then you're going to be underprepared, less prepared than you could have been for the 90% of the course grade that is represented by the exams. So you got to make sure to take the right point of view on that. Okay, I think we're done. Okay, good deal. Okay, so I look forward to meeting y'all on Monday And y'all have a great rest of your summer. You've got, about 36 hours? 40 hours, I guess. So have some fun, and I'll look forward to seeing y'all on Monday.